Hello and welcome to another SDA Half an hour late. What's going on? I apologize for that. All sorts of things going on today. And those who have been joining, hoping that Michael C. would join, sadly, he pulled out. And to be fair to him, I think he felt that, excuse me. I think he felt that I was going to be just criticizing his views and beliefs, where I tried to make it really clear that no, I just wanted him to share his beliefs, not to actually have to defend them, if that makes sense. But yeah, sadly, he pulled out. I then was reminded by my good friend Rodrigo Custodio that he and I were doing a little chat this morning on his program, which I have just finished. And in the meantime, I was organizing Brian Tyler to fill in for Michael C. And Brian may be watching now, but look, we just didn't have time to pull it together. And so I had a backup plan that came to me this morning. I wanted to chat about the close of probation and what the official teaching is. And I think it's a fascinating topic. Now, recently, Lauren Seibold put out an article. Let me bring it up on the screen. But hi, everybody. How are you all? Write in the comments and let me know how you're going. And good to see you. This is an important topic. It's one I've had on the back of my mind for a while. So I'm keen to kind of just chat about it and share with you some official stances that the church has on the close of probation. But yeah, welcome. Hello. Good to see you all. And boy, what, by the way, wasn't Rochelle amazing yesterday? Rochelle, I'm not sure if you're watching today, but what a great program. Thoroughly enjoyed it. That program, I tell you what, the girls are rocking. Emma Ray and Rochelle's program had over 1,500 views within 24 hours. So, yeah, that's very impressive. So thank you, Rochelle. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, so as I was saying, and I'll bring it up onto the screen. Can you guys see that? Not very big, is it? That's a little bit bigger anyway. So, Adventist Today, Lauren has written an article, Does Ted Wilson Know When Probation is Closing? And it's a really fascinating article. I advise you all to go and check it out. I'm just trying to find my comment. Here we go. So I basically Lauren was saying, enough. It is time to say plainly that this is a grotesque malformation of the gospel, a hideous overlay on the blessed hope of Christ's return that has no justification in Scripture, that it slanders God, and we denounce it utterly. He's saying that's enough. It's time to actually plainly see this for what it is, this doctrine, the close of probation. What did you guys think when you were growing up? What did the close of probation mean to you? I'm going to play for you. It's not very long, maybe 5 minutes. It's a clip. You'll hear a guy reading Ellen White quotes on the close of probation. See if it brings back some memories for you. Then let's talk about what is it actually saying? What is the close of probation? And I've got a theory that while I agree with Lauren, and enough is enough, it's time for Adventists, particularly the revisionist, liberal, progressive gospel Adventist, to say enough is enough. This is an abomination of a doctrine, a grotesque malformation of the gospel. I agree with that. It's time for the liberal, progressive, revisionist gospel Adventists to stand up boldly and say, this is a ridiculous doctrine. It's got to go. The problem is, if you do that, Ellen White endorses this doctrine, so much so that it has become one of the pillars of the Adventist church. It is so foundational. It is so important for the Adventist message that to discard it, or as Frank Marendino says, to jettison it, you're really, gospel Adventists, you're really doing away with a core ingredient of the special message of Adventism. And so, honestly, those who believe it, the close of probation, those who believe it as taught by Ellen White, they've got a valid claim against you guys trying to change their church. And so while many people say it's okay, I can be whatever kind of Adventist I want to be, yeah, you can. But at least admit that by doing so, by getting rid of these kind of laborious, unbiblical doctrines, you are doing away with the unique pillars of Adventism as a collective, as a movement. And how can you expect to be an Adventist, do away with it, and think there's nothing to see here? Oh, that's okay. I just choose not to believe it. I don't have to believe what Ted Wilson believes. I find that a difficult little bit of cognitive dissonance right there. So let's look at this close of probation and then revisionist, liberal, progressive, gospel Adventist. Tell me what you think. Is it, as Lauren suggests, a grotesque malformation of the gospel, hideous, and even slanders God? I wonder what you think of that. If you do away with it, are you doing away with Adventism so much so that if the church itself did away with it officially, it would crumble? It just interests me that people can so easily say, well, I don't have to believe that. And fine, if you were in a kind of benign Protestant movement, you can do that. But this is Adventism's claim. We are a remnant people, commandment-keeping, supportive of the notion that Ellen White is the spirit of prophecy, and we have a special message for these last days. So how can you say, well, I'm an Adventist, but I don't believe that we've got a special message for these last days? I guess you can do that, can't you? You are doing that. Anyway, I wrote on the Adventist Today wall, and I was pleased to get a nice response from Lauren himself, and also from our good friend Doug Hackelman, who wrote, excuse me a second, this incredible book. And we've got copies to sell very cheaply. If you email us, we can get them to you. Fantastic book. So anyway, I got a really good email from both those guys. But yeah, if you do want a copy of that book, email Adrian there, SDAQ&A@gmail.com, and request price and whatever. and we'll get one out to you. We've got about 10 left, I think. Anyway, that's just a by the by, because Doug wrote back to my comment. So this is what I wrote. Probation is a unique core teaching of Adventism, endorsed, as claimed, directly to Ellen from God. Many Adventists say, well, that's not my Adventism, and remain SDA. That's fine. I don't even see that as weird or contradictory. Just a little bit. However, what interests me is few, having jettisoned the close of probation teaching, put two and two together and conclude, therefore, that Ellen White is a false prophet. If one claims a message is directly given from God and it's found that it is not, they are in complete violation of the prophetic code. Her endorsement of probation closing, the probation closing teaching, and saying it was confirmed by direct word to her from God, that's her claim, that is in direct opposition to the gospel of Jesus and is more than just the flawed mistake of a human being. Many say, well, prophets are human too, and we all make mistakes. But this claim that the close of probation is real is way more than a mistake. By her infusing this doctrine into the heart of Adventism, by way of direct confirmation from God, is not only contrary to the gospel, but in fact blasphemy to the very message of Jesus. Doug Haukelman wrote back that he appreciated that comment. I asked him back on the show. And then Lauren wrote, Peter, it is indeed blasphemous. It makes God out to be a monster who wants to see people suffer. So there we go. Adventism makes a huge claim that this doctrine, the close of probation, is a real thing, and it is endorsed by God himself. So I want to just play these quotes to you now, and I'm interested in your comments. I'll come to them a little bit later, on what you think about this idea that you can be an Adventist, jettison some of its pillars, and just continue on as if there's nothing to see here, when your church itself is making this claim that we aren't just an ordinary church. We have a unique message for this end time. I just am struggling with this idea that you can still call yourself an Adventist and jettison these absolute pillars. Okay, so let's share this screen. How do we do this? And I encourage people, if they want to go and check out this channel, they have a lot of just readings from Ellen White. And it was just a lot easier for me to play this to you instead of trying to, read all the comments. So it's not very long, but I'm going to play it all because it does really highlight what all the teachings are of the close of probation. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a cup of tea, and enjoy this. And then we're going to unpack what it means, what it is, what it says. And then I'm very interested in hearing about your experiences growing up when you were an Adventist, if you are an Adventist, with this notion of the time of trouble, the close of probation, and have I potentially missed out? Okay, enjoy.
No one knows when probation will close. God has not revealed to us the time when this message will close or when probation will have had an end. Those things that are revealed we shall accept for ourselves and for our children. But let us not seek to know that which has been kept secret in the counsels of the Almighty. Letters have come to me asking me if I have any special light as to the time when probation will close, and I answer that I have only this message to bear, that it is now time to work while the day lasts, for the night cometh, in which no man can work. Selected Messages, Book 1, page 191, 1894. Sunday law enforcement precedes the close of probation. The Lord has shown me clearly that the image of the beast will be formed before probation closes, for it is to be the great test for the people of God, by which their eternal destiny will be decided. Selected Messages, Book 2, page 81, 1890. What is the image to the beast, and how is it to be formed? The image is made by the two-horned beast and is an image to the beast. It is also called an image of the beast. Then, to learn what the image is like and how it is to be formed, we must study the characteristics of the beast itself, the papacy. When the early church became corrupted by departing from the simplicity of the gospel and accepting heathen rites and customs, she lost the spirit and power of God, and in order to control the consciences of the people, she sought the support of the secular power. The result was the papacy, a church that controlled the power of the state and employed it to further her own ends, especially for the punishment of heresy. In order for the United States to form an image of the beast, the religious power must so control the civil government that the authority of the state will also be employed by the church to accomplish her own ends. The image to the beast represents that form of apostate Protestantism which will be developed when the Protestant churches shall seek the aid of the civil power for the enforcement of their dogmas. Great Controversy, pages 443 and 445, 1911. Probation closes when the sealing is finished. Just before we entered it, the time of trouble, we all received the seal of the living God. Then I saw the four angels cease to hold the four winds, and I saw famine, pestilence, and sword. Nation rose against nation, and the whole world was in confusion. Seventh-day Adventist Bible Commentary, Volume 7, page 968, 1846. I saw angels hurrying to and fro in heaven. An angel with a writer's inkhorn by his side returned from the earth and reported to Jesus that his work was done and the saints were numbered and sealed. Then I saw Jesus, who had been ministering before the ark containing the 10 Commandments, throw down the censer. He raised his hands and with a loud voice said, "It is done." Early Writings, page 279, 1858. Only a moment of time, as it were, yet remains. But while already nation is rising against nation and kingdom against kingdom, there is not now a general engagement. As yet, the four winds are held until the servants of God shall be sealed in their foreheads. Then the powers of earth will marshal their forces for the last great battle. Testimonies to the Church, Volume 6, page 14, 1900. An angel returning from the earth announces that his work is done. The final test has been brought upon the world, and all who have proved themselves loyal to the divine precepts have received the seal of the living God. Then Jesus ceases his intercession in the sanctuary above. He lifts his hands and with a loud voice says, "It is done." Great controversy. Page 613,
Intercession
1911.
ceases.
Probation will end suddenly, unexpectedly. When Jesus ceases to plead for man, the cases of all are forever decided. Probation closes. Christ's intercession ceases in heaven. This time finally comes suddenly upon all, and those who have neglected to purify their souls by obeying the truth are found sleeping. Testimonies, Volume 2, page 191, 1868. When probation ends, it will come suddenly, unexpectedly, at a time when we are least expecting it, but when we can have a clean record in heaven today and know that God accepts us. Bible Commentary, Volume 7, 989, 1906. When the work of the investigative judgment closes, the destiny of all will have been decided for life or death. Probation is ended a short time before the appearing of the Lord in the clouds of heaven. Before the flood, after Noah entered the ark, God shut him in and shut the ungodly out. But for 7 days the people, knowing not that their doom was fixed, continued their careless, pleasure-loving life and mocked the warnings of impending judgment. So, says the Savior, shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Matthew chapter.
Okay. Oh, man. Sorry to put you through that. I had planned to play another 5 minutes, but my skin is starting to crawl. I, too, could not bear any more of that. But there's some points there I want to raise that are unique to this teaching. Boy, that was hard. Sorry to put you through that. That was hard to hear. And I'm glad that, the Des Ford, gospel, liberal, revisionist, progressive Adventists want to do away with that. But it is the official teaching of the church, this close of probation doctrine. And you can't get away from that. You can choose not to believe it, but you then have to admit that your church is teaching something that is unbiblical. Now, in Lauren's article, they talk about that. What kind of God would close probation, leave people on the earth not even knowing if their probation is closed? It's like toying with them. But anyway, here's a couple of key takeaway points. And then I'm going to look at some of your comments and we'll finish a bit early today. So Adventists officially teach that no one knows when the close of probation is. And that's used as a little bit of a stick because it means you don't know. So it's either going to happen any moment or it's going to happen when you die. So you need, and Ellen White says this, it came up a little bit further on in that video, that you need to have a clear record before probation closes. Now, while we don't know when it's going to come, say the Adventists, their official teaching, while we don't know when it's going to come, the Sunday law precedes it. Okay? And during that time, there will be the great test. Still not knowing when probation closes. And what is that test? Keeping the Sabbath. It's not just a lovely little rest day where you can have your catch-ups at your local great church and your potluck lunch and your haystacks. No. When Sunday law comes in, preceding the close of probation, you have to be keeping the Sabbath as a test for salvation. Do you believe that, revisionist, gospel, liberal, progressive Adventist? Is that part of the canon of your beliefs? Ellen White then goes on to point out who the beast is. Who has this mark? Who is forcing you to keep Sunday, not Sabbath? Well, she points out that it's the papacy. It's the Catholic Church. It's Rome. And that the papacy will combine with the government to ensure that the Sunday laws come in and you have to keep the Sabbath or not go to heaven. Happy Sabbath. And then at some point, Christ chooses who the righteous are and who the unrighteous are, and declares, it is done. It is finished. Probation closes. But wait, there's more. At this point, Christ doesn't return yet. At this point, Ellen White teaches, and the official stance of the church is this, that time still remains. But as probation closes and the time of trouble rages on, because the four winds of all the evil stuff that the angels have been holding back, they remove themselves from that. And all of this stuff comes on. And Satan does his best with all his people to try and tempt the righteous. Probation is closed for them too, but they've been found righteous, and then there's the unrighteous. During this time, intercession ceases. Christ's work is done. He has selected the righteous and pointed out who the unrighteous are, and then they must live, the righteous and the unrighteous, together on earth for a short time. So here's where some speculation comes into play. Is it possible during this time, where probation is closed and the righteous have been chosen, is it possible, because free will still exists, for this righteous group to still stumble and fail and fall to the temptations of the devil? From my studies, I believe that is the case. That's what Adventists officially teach. Other Adventists who believe this, they say no, that they've already been chosen as righteous and they can't fail. However, Ellen stipulates clearly that to vindicate God, they must prove Satan's claim wrong, that people can't keep the commandments and not just be robots. So to prove Satan's claim wrong, this righteous bunch that are shining their light in this God-forsaken, troublesome time preceding the second coming and post the close of probation, the whole point is they have to show that they can not sin, keep the commandments, but still have freedom of choice to prove Satan's claim that they can't wrong. So that's what I believe Adventism is truly teaching. And even those that don't teach that, they are still adhering to this abominable teaching that is not biblical. So even if the righteous can't fail, okay, what's the point then? They've still got this crazy time going where all of the people, the righteous and the unrighteous, are going through this tormented time. And then all of a sudden, Christ returns and receives his people to be with him. And, you know, liberal, progressive, revisionist, gospel Adventists, rebel Adventists, Adventists who are staying in the church to bring about a change. Do you really think you can change that doctrine? Do you really think you can change one of the pillars of Adventism, the very reason for its existence? I don't think you can. So therefore, if you stay and you jettison that teaching, where does that leave you? It just leaves you as a Bible-based Christian inside a denomination that's claiming to be way more than that. So you end up going along for the ride, sitting in the vehicle that's heading towards the close of probation and this apocalyptic ending, seemingly happy to put your name to it, even though inside that vehicle you've got your own little table where you're all gathering and talking about the Bible. Jesus, good on you, fair enough. But your vehicle is hurtling with a mission that you're happy to put your name to, even though you don't believe that close of probation teaching. So I just find that difficult to understand, even though I did it myself my whole life. I don't understand how I did it, why I did it. Because when you realize that it's such a ridiculous, dangerous, anti-gospel teaching, you got to pretty much wake up and go, whoa, what am I putting my name to here? Could I potentially be bringing people into the church that might fall and stumble into this doctrine? Yeah, you are. So how do you reconcile that? I'm interested in your thoughts, liberal, progressive, revisionist, gospel Adventists. I'm very interested in your thoughts on that. Please don't judge me. Don't be upset with me. I'm not attacking you. I'm just saying, what's going on? I invited a pastor to be on the program. He was going to be on the program and then wrote to me yesterday and said he couldn't because some of the things he would have to publicly say he didn't believe in would mean he'd lose his job. Okay, good. Don't come on the show. Definitely don't lose your job. But what does that say about this church that you've put your name to? So we've got that group of people. Many of you formers couldn't put your name to it, and so you left. And many of you decided to stay because you think you can bring about a change, which you can't. But you can create nice little safe places. Good on you. Do that. Keep on doing that. But please don't be deluded enough to say to me that that has no impact on those around you. You are carrying the Adventist flag, whether you like it or not, the official statement of the Adventist Church, whether you like it or not. So it leaves us with the group that have left, the group that have stayed but decided to be gospel focused and hope to revise the church, and it leaves the other group that believes all this rubbish and believes in this. And here's the weird thing. I've got a lot of respect for the former Adventists who leave, and I've got a lot of respect for those who believe this rubbish and at least say, it's what I believe. Stop trying to say that I'm crazy for believing it. This is what Ellen White taught. This is what my church believes. I believe they have a valid claim to the church and should be left alone to enjoy that incredible cray-cray delusion that they have. So on this show, we've talked on SDAQ&A, we've talked to formers, we've talked to conservative, fundamental, traditional trad-ads who believe in close of probation and all of this stuff. And I've had lots of gospel Adventists on, and we've talked a lot about the Des Ford incredible gem of Adventism, which I think the liberal, progressive, revisionist gospel Adventists should shout from the rooftop and claim it and build something within the Adventist church that you're proud of. Stop hiding under a bushel. Stop saying you can't publicly say it. I'm not talking about my show, but you just don't publicly say it out there. Just be bold and say it, but leave these trad ads alone. The traditional historicist Adventists who love Ellen White, believe she's a prophet, just adore the close of probation idea, leave them be, because they are the real true blue Adventists. Just leave them alone. It's their church and they've got a valid claim that they don't want you there. You're not offering a progression from Adventism. You're offering a completely new theology. Thank goodness. I love that new theology. But try not to see yourself as somehow being Martin Luther types, taking the church from one thing and progressing it to something else out of a dark age. No, you're not. These guys who claim the traditional Adventist view, the official Adventist view, the Ted Wilsons of the church, they are way more in alignment and truly understand what their church is teaching and the reason it is here. So, it is harder and harder to get the liberal, progressive, gospel, revisionist Adventist onto the program because they feel I'm attacking them. I'm just saying, hey, be accountable. I'm trying to go, whoa, why did I do that? Admit that maybe you were a little bit too quiet post-Glacier View and you could have spoken up more. That's okay. I didn't speak up enough. Just admit it. Be bold. Claim your gem of Adventism before it's too late and it dies out altogether. So I would love liberal, progressive, revisionist, gospel Adventists to continue coming on the show, but speak boldly for your beliefs. I would love the close of probationist, traditional Adventists to continue coming on the show, and I'll try and stop pushing back on you so much. And that's why Michael C. didn't want to come on the show. I want you to share what you believe, because I think you are more aligned with Adventism than the liberal, progressive, revisionist gospel Adventists. They've got something totally new. Great. But you don't get on. You're chalk and cheese. You're two separate theologies. You're like two churches, totally different. And to my former Adventists, brothers and sisters, etc., thank you for continuing to come on the program and discussing these things. And I'm sorry today has been a bit hard for you guys, because this notion of the close of probation is just such a ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous teaching. And so I hope that I'm making a bit of sense today, that I'm talking about this from many different angles. It's a nuanced conversation. And liberal, progressive, revisionist, gospel Adventists, come on the show, be bold. Speak boldly what you believe. Be conservative, fundamental, traditional Adventists who love the close of probation and Ellen White and hold her up on high esteem. Come on the show, share your thoughts. Former Adventists, thank you. Continue to come on the show and let's talk about the cray-cray. Let's talk about these issues. Let's share our personal experiences and our journey. And let's continue to shine a light on the Seventh-day Adventist movement, which has had an impact on all of us. The libs, the trads, the formers, it's had an impact on all of us. Let's have dialogue with each other and let's shine a light on the whole thing, because truth can withstand scrutiny, and light dispels darkness. So thank you very much for being a part of SDAQ&A and the journey, and joining in with the journey that I am on. Thank you for your donations and support this week. Thank you. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to get behind me with this additional project I'm trying to do, where I upload, because it hit me yesterday in my interview with Rochelle. Many of you guys haven't even seen season 2 because it's not on YouTube, and many new members and viewers and subscribers are on YouTube. And it is a gold mine of a season, not because of me. I'm a bystander in all of this. I'm just a facilitator. I'm not a shepherd. I'm not in the flock. I'm just the guy that opens and closes the gate. And but season 2 is mind-blowing. And I know many of you really love the interviews we have here in SDAQ&A, and I want you to see season 2. But it takes me at least 5 or 6 hours per episode to upload it to YouTube with a bit of editing and all that stuff. And I just don't have the time for all that editing. But if someone was willing to donate some money to pay for my time, I'm only going to charge $20 an hour. That's about $12 US an hour. Small as possible. I just want it up there. There's 5 episodes up there at the moment. I'll just quickly show you where to go to see that. Just quickly, bear with me, and then it's questions and comments, and then I'm going to wrap it up. But if you right now go and check it out, it's already there. Can you see that all right? This is a YouTube channel I've set up just for season 2. It's there now. I've got 5 episodes up already. I've got Bill Johnson, John Godfrey, Norm Young, Ross Cole, Ken Samples, all doctors. And then there's little old me, the little gatekeeper. Come on in, have a coffee, tell us your thoughts. Go and subscribe to that, guys. SDAQ&A presents the complete series, season 2, Des Ford and Glacier View. It is a bombshell season. There are 86 interviews. Whoa! 86 times 6 hours. What's that? How long is that going to take me to do that? That's a long time. But look, if I can get some extra donations, I'm going to put a lot of time. I've got some time this month and next month. I've got some time to put into this, because if you enjoy SDAQ&A now, that season 2 is going to blow your mind. Many of the people I interviewed were there at Glacier View. Fritz Guy, Larry Geraghty. I interviewed John Butler, Ron Numbers, Norm Young, Lyndon Rogers, Bill Johnson, Des Ford, Gillian Ford, John Rosier. The list goes on. George Knight. It's an incredible series. So look, thank you for your help there. That would really encourage me to be able to put a lot of effort in to that. And there's the QR code that some of you might like to scan to support me. Okay, so today's program has been about the close of probation. And I'm going to look at some comments and any questions or thoughts you've added, and then we're going to wrap it up. A short show today. And sorry, once again, we started late. We've got Mark Elmos. How are you, Mark? Would love you on the show one day. I really like my journey and where I am right now. Good on you. Come on the show and share that journey. Are you still a Seventh-day Adventist, Mark? I don't even want to give people a hard time. I'm just trying to work it out, you know. Nancy Page, how are you? She writes over there on Facebook, thank you for doing this. Hey, thank you, Nancy. Thank you for all you have done. Incredible amount of resources you've helped there and teamed up with Steve Daly. Wow, mind-blowing. And David writes, this stuff is poison to a Christian mind. And this is referring to that video I was playing. And honestly, look, I listened to the whole thing twice early this morning, that 15-minute video. I could only play you guys 5 minutes of it. It was too much even for me. And I'm pretty used to just sitting here listening to all sides. Yeah, you are correct, David. It's poison. So LibProg, revisionist, gospel Adventists, just note that you're putting your name to something that I don't think you can change. I remember in my interview with Bill Johnson, he was lamenting that Des hadn't just kind of pulled his head in a little bit and just kept a bit quiet and just gradually brought about the change in the church. And I said to him, well, how, he didn't do that because he drew a line in the sand. He was bold. He boldly stated what he believed and what he didn't believe. And you guys voted in support of him and then had the nerve to lie and say, no, the majority didn't see light in what Des said. But I said to Bill Johnson, how did that work out for you? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, you've played the tread gently for 40 years. Is the church better now under Ted Wilson than it was under Neil Wilson? And he looked a bit discouraged. And I think, I'm speculating, had to admit that, in fact, going the softly approach, bring about the change within. Shh, hey, let's bring about some positive change from within. Doesn't work. Former SDA. That's a great YouTube channel name. Just hearing this nonsense gets me irritated. And Vega writes the same. The cross settles the argument. This is another good point, Vega. Adventism leaves people in salvation limbo. And 21st Century Paul writes, you either have to pick Sunday or Saturday as your Sabbath, which dictates whom you serve. Saturday for God and Sunday for Satan. After then will be the close of probation come. I'm not sure if you're saying you agree with that or not, 21st Century Paul. You might be someone that could come on the show. A trad ad who likes the historical Ellen White view. Come on. So Nilo writes, Paul wrote it was unlawful to describe his visions in detail. Ellen White, not so. Oh, this is a good point. Vega writes, probation is insulting. And Chris, I'm just realizing, is it Chris Vega or Vega? Vega, I think, isn't it? I loved our interview we did last week or the week before. Amazing. I want you back. But yeah, probation is insulting to the gospel. It denies the sacrifice. And I'm not saying people within the Adventist church don't find the gospel. How conceited and self-righteous would that be of me to say that? I'm not saying that. But yeah, I'm interested in how the revisionist Adventist is. I guess they can say that it is insulting and denies the gospel, but they're staying to change it. Well, I think that's a bit. I don't want to say it, but I think you're a bit deluded if you think you're going to change it. Oops, did I just say that out loud? Andy Mack's on the show next week, and she writes, "We believed this drivel. I never understood it. I trusted others to understand it." Yeah, and that's what I tried after I played the little clip there. I tried to kind of even make it a little bit more easy to understand. Former SDA writes, SDAs use the flood account and the account of Sodom. Notice that absolutely no one changes their mind in either of these accounts, nor are they asked to do so. I'm interested in what you guys think about how I speculate. Probation closes, the righteous are on the earth, and so are the unrighteous. The time of trouble gets really bad. The four winds are opened. Christ removes his intercession. I'm interested in what you think Adventists teach, the official thing. Is it for this righteous sin during this time or not? Because I'm pretty sure, speculating, that Ellen does infer they freedom of choice still and can still fall. It's like Christ before the close of probation chose the winning team, and here they are now about to play the final game. And they're playing against, the rulers of darkness, United, and they, I believe, feel that Ellen teaches that they could fall, and that's the whole point. They have to vindicate God and prove Satan's claim wrong. Satan's whole point was, you're only following Jesus because you're robots. So I think in that close of probation, time of trouble, before Christ returns, righteous, unrighteous, righteous shining the light, I think it's still that Adventists teach that it is still possible for them to fall and fail. Even if it doesn't say that, and it's, you can take it either way. I'm interested in what you think. It's still an absolutely terrible doctrine. Chris writes, it's insane. You cannot both be on probation and be perfectly accepted. Yeah. So before probation closes, Adventists, you're on probation right now. Since October 22, 1844, you're on probation. And you, as Ellen White said, need a clear record when your probation closes, either at death or at this particular time when Sunday law comes in and probation closes. And Sir Nilo, Moto Sapien suggests he come on the show. Awesome. Official invite, Sir Nilo. Come on the show. David writes, makes his skin crawl. You know what? As I was listening to that and watching you guys comment, I literally felt that crawling feeling. That this close of probation doctrine that the Adventists officially teach, I literally felt my skin crawl. Not metaphorically, literally. That doesn't happen very often. Good point. And Rick says, where's Michael C? Where are you hiding? Yeah. He thought I was going to drill him, but I just wanted to hear him out. I didn't want to put him on the offensive. I didn't want him to be on the defensive. So I wanted him to share what he believed. So hopefully, Michael, you're watching. I want you to share your beliefs. I'm not going to then push you to defend them. I just want to hear what they are. Because I think, Michael C., if you are watching, that your claims to Adventism are valid. You have a leg to stand on. This is your church. And those of us who don't believe it either leave or stay and try and change it. But I don't think they can change it. Just reading through these. Andy Mack writes, she listened to an Adventist sermon last night, as you do, and they said the music you listen to, the food on your plate, will stop you from being ready for heaven. Yeah. Don't Feed the Pirates. I was enjoying it, Peter. And Don't Feed the Pirates is going to be on the show in a couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward to that. Don't Feed the Pirates is someone in that camp. So we've got our formers, we've got our revisionists that stay, hoping to bring about this unicorn type change within the Adventist Church. And we've got people like Don't Feed the Pirates who hold that more traditional view and believe in Ellen White as a prophet. Well, I want to hear your voice, Don't Feed the Pirates, and I'm not going to push back on you. I just want to hear what do you actually believe? And way more comments today than I thought. Thank you. Tomorrow we're gathering with Connie French. She's going to do our gospel, our good news fellowship gathering tomorrow. Join us. 6 p.m. Pacific Time, USA. 1 p.m. New South Wales, Australia. And the rest you'll have to extrapolate and work out. I've heard Fisherman's Corner mentioned. Someone wrote to me and mentioned Fisherman's Corner. True Blue SDA is non-denominational. Christians eagerly waiting for the coming of Christ like the apostles. Yeah. By the way, the title of today's program I will be changing because it was... I really was hoping Brian Tyler would come on or Michael C. And so my program wouldn't let me change the description, so I will change it later. Yeah, Fisherman's Corner, the mark of the beast, that's how you reconcile it. Every denomination believes in the mark of the beast, so the end of probation means the mark of the beast is being placed on some people. I don't know about that. Does every denomination believe in the mark of the beast as being the papacy? I think Adventists have a very unique take on this close of probation there, Fisherman's Corner. Nice hat. Means it's pretty simple. I don't think the close of probation, time of trouble, end time, investigative judgment is a simple doctrine. I think it blurs the simple message. Come on the show, Fisherman's Corner. Yeah, so the job is more important than the truth. Wow, that's what they said to me. They literally said, two people actually. One I caught up with for lunch and the other one via messenger. They'd already said they would come on the show, and then they said if they shared their true thoughts on the close of probation, time of trouble, the papacy, the seal of God, 1844, they literally said, I can't because I will lose my job. And then both of them, as all liberal, progressive, revisionist, gospel Adventists say, they add, but I'm going to stay and bring about the change. Sorry, I'm sounding mocky. Yeah. Yeah, this is a good point, Chris. Chris Vega writes, if you are on probation, you are not saved. You are still in your sentence. Yeah. Yeah. Fisherman's Friend says, sure, but it's literally what I do for a living. I happen to be an expert in this little data marketing nonsense. Oh, good. I need experts on the show. I'm not one. Come and join us, Fisherman's Friend. Are you an Adventist, Fisherman? Oh, Fisherman's Corner, sorry. Hope you don't eat meat, especially seafood. Goodness me. And David writes, you were raised in it, Peter. I made a choice to accept it. And the farther I got in, the worse it got, until I couldn't take it anymore. It's a facade. They impersonate Christians. Woo! Wow. Yeah. David, have we talked about you coming on the show? And Farmer's Friend says, how about ask me a question that I didn't already answer? I'm obviously not following the comments. No one's commented on my idea about this, this close of probation is closed. There's righteous and unrighteous. Is it possible for the righteous, as I believe Ellen White teaches, I haven't pinned down the quote yet, but there's lots of inferences that they still can fail, that they're in a sealing process, but they haven't quite been sealed until they can prove that they can keep the commandments, vindicate God, prove Satan's claim wrong. And no Sunday law coming. Says the presence of Sunday law marks the close of probation. The close of probation marks the end of the investigative judgment. Thus, this is why the Sunday law is so important for SDAs to maintain. Exactly. And it's why Bruinsma was moved from the Loma Linda SDA soil when he was potentially questioning this. Anyway, I've said it a million times. And Fisherman's Friend writes, well, seeing that we typically live only 80 years, it's within 80 years for everybody. Yeah. But for those who live on through the close of probation in this magical period where the righteous and the unrighteous have to live without Christ as an intercessor, and the four winds are opened and all the evil comes out, and they still don't even know if their probation is closed or not, but they're alive, and God knows, and Jesus knows, and the other planets know. Even Satan doesn't know that the probation is closed yet, according to Adventism. That's what we're talking about, fishermen. We're not talking about the close of probation by dying. We're talking about those that are alive, and what an abomination of a teaching that is. Do you believe in the close of probation teaching as taught by Ellen White? Just yes or no would be a good answer. Okay, having to cross over a lot of good ones here, but we're running out of time. Thank you, David. Thank you for bringing us together. And I honestly hope that it's not just the formers, that also I think there are a subset of people within the traditional Adventist Ted Wilson style view that have a place here as well and are welcome. And of course, I welcome the Des Ford living, breathing Adventist gospelers. I welcome them in this group. Season 2 was just a wonderful celebration of Des Ford and what you guys have brought and done to the church and for the church. I'm not criticizing that, but I am saying, hey, there's probably a bit more you could have done, you could do. And do you really jettison these views? Are they crazy and you can still be an Adventist? I just want to talk about it. Don't go running to the hills because you're too scared of losing your job. Come and chat to me. Farmer's Friend says, in a marriage contract, traditionally adultery would break that contract. Can biblically that is still a valid reason for divorce? Are we watching the same show? Okay. So crazy to listen to you talk about the end of probation, but you don't reject the mark of the beast, right? I don't know what you mean. You're an expert, but you're assuming things. And have you watched the whole program? And it's crazy to listen to you talk about the end of probation. So the close of probation is what I'm talking about. I don't agree with it. Those who do believe it are in alignment with the official Adventist teaching. Those who don't believe it but remain Adventists, I'm saying, have a bit of cognitive dissonance. Those who don't believe it are the formers. And you're saying, but you don't. So you're talking about the end of probation, but you don't reject the mark of the beast. Well, define the mark of the beast for you. I'm saying that Adventists officially define the mark of the beast as the papacy, and its sign and test is that you must keep Sabbath, not Sunday, but a Sunday law will come in pushing you to make a stand. So that's the mark of the beast that the official Adventist view is. And Fisherman's Corner, I do reject that teaching. But if you said the mark of the beast was just darkness at the end of time and that's going to be some kind of have an impact on us in some way, okay, well, we can talk about it and define it. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the Adventist official teaching of the close of probation and what they officially say it is, and how some people don't believe it and so leave, and some people don't believe it and stay and think they can change it, and some people do believe it. I don't get your confusion. Are you trolling? Is this who? What's your name really? Is it someone we know, and that's just a made up picture? And you're just doing this to be annoying? It's interesting. Where is it? Angela Lima. Yes, I have read this book. And this book is all about the close of probation. If it's available online somewhere for free, can someone share the link? This is the book that gave me nightmares when I was 12. And Mary Kay herself that wrote it left the church. And she wrote another book called Betrayal, which is incredible. And Angela, because we mentioned you yesterday, and Andy Mack as well, a lot of people have gone and watched your interviews. There was a real spike in views. Thank you, Andy. Peter has thought this probation thing through. Peter understands the consequence of probation better than the writers of it. Chris Vega writes, it's time to write a book. What I'll do, Chris, is I'll just get AI. I'll say, go and watch all my shows and turn it into a book. When that day comes and it's possible to do that, then I'll have a book. Awesome. Fisherman's Friend has said, I will be glad to join your show. Your demeanor is respectful and you are very thorough. I am respectful, a little bit mocky. I'm not that thorough, but I have been marinated in Adventism for 5 generations and 54 years, and post leaving learned even more. And so I guess I'm marinated in the knowledge. And, I do believe that, I pretty much can tell the difference between a Ford Adventist, a traditional Adventist, and a former Adventist. And all are welcome here. So Fisherman's Corner, are you in Facebook? Get in touch with me. Let's have you on the program. So true, Chris. The IJ robs Christ of his victory. See, the revisionist Adventist says, Chris, I agree with you, and I'm going to bring that into the Adventist church. And I say, okay, revisionist Adventist, bring it in. And they don't, because if they bring it in, they lose their job or lose their standing or something impacts their reputation. So it's just funny, revisionist. It's funny to hear you say we're going to bring about a change, and then you can't because you'll lose your standing or your job or your hierarchy. You get what I'm talking about, right? There's a crazy little loop there that I don't think you fully comprehend. I call it head in the sand, deluded. You've been duped to think that you can somehow change it, and maybe you can. Not in my lifetime, though. Andy says I can call my book Probation or the Gospel. Yes. Kevin's watching. Man, Kevin, the show we had the other day, so powerful. Wow. Theoretically, those with free will always have the possibility of sinning. That includes the righteous after the close of probation. Thank you, Kevin. I believe that to be true. That's what I get. And I tell you what, I have read The Great Controversy last year 6 times. And I've listened to hundreds of YouTube clips on Ellen White's teachings on this. And so I'm going to finish with my little summary and include that little gem there. And Kevin, I think you believe that too, and that's okay. Now, don't forget, tomorrow, Connie French. Join us, everybody. Good News Fellowship. 6 p.m. tomorrow, 1 p.m. Australia, 6 p.m. USA Pacific time. Let's gather together and enjoy fellowship and the good news. Come on. We need you. Yes, and Angela saying, where's Cindy Lou? Good question. Trail Rider has written, if your name came up and you were judged, what then? You continue to live on and sinning as usual. What did judgment do for you? Nothing. Yeah, wow. And it's good having Schley writing a lot lately. Signs of the Times, August 28, 1893. In this generation we are living, and this generation will not pass till the opening heavens reveal the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Yep, another failed prophecy. But guess what? It's conditional. And guess what? That means that anyone can make a prophetic prediction. And if it doesn't come true, it was conditional. Sorry. So therefore, how on earth do you test a prophet? You test a prophet because if their prediction doesn't come true, you're not allowed to use the conditional card unless you've infused it into the prediction. Unless you say, unless you guys follow the 3 angels' message, or unless you change, or the Lord is going to return in your lifetime unless you don't follow the 3 angels' message. You cannot. So if the Bible teaches that if you make a false prophetic prediction, doesn't come true, you are a false prophet. And you can't go adding your little caveat of conditional after. It's just not the way it is. But Kevin Brown, I'm glad you said that, because that's been my speculative suspicion. Okay, sadly having to race through. There's something else there about Michael C. I missed. Yes, I tell you what, that I wonder who has the rights to that, if the church still does. My SDA church school, they play a tape recording of voice actors portraying the Now book scenes. I was about 7 when they played it in class. Yeah, Shady Vista, when I was young, we had that read to us, and I read it later when I was a bit older. And then when I was at college, maybe, or just about to go to college up here at Avondale, they did a play of it on stage, and it was just mind-blowing. Angela writes, how could you tolerate that book 6 times? You know what? I kept reading it because I'm trying to prove, like I pretty much have proved every point of this close of probation, the righteous, the unrighteous, but the speculation on if the righteous could possibly still sin. I think they definitely can, but it's confusing because they've already been declared as righteous and unrighteous. So if you're declared righteous, but you make a mistake, you're no longer righteous. How is that different to pre-probation closing? So I've read it so many times to try and find out where Ellen is more clear about it. And I just haven't really found it. But there's so many inferences, of course. And Ryan, and thanks for your message on Facebook, Ryan, as well. Yeah, would love to have you on the show. Revelation 16:9 seems to suggest that man will still have opportunity to repent during the outpouring of the plagues, which the church interprets as the time of trouble, post-close of probation. Yes, okay. That's how they kind of cherry pick it, maybe. Okay, well, look, thank you so much, everybody, for your comments, for joining me today on our special program where I kind of react to the Adventist Today article on probation. Go and check it out. Just type in Adventist Today, close of probation, it will come. Lauren Seibold has written a great article there on the topic. And I'm just going to read my quick summary of what the close of probation is, based on reading many, many quotes, not just from the Great Controversy, but from Ellen White. I don't, believe me, I don't just do Adventist stuff. Oh, classic. There's lots of things I'm obsessed with. Okay, so basically, the close of probation, no one knows when it's going to happen. But Ellen, and this is all from Ellen White. And if you go back and listen to that video, if you want to watch the whole 20 minutes of it, go and find it online. You can. They're all confirmative statements of Ellen White on what I'm saying. So no one knows, but Sunday law is going to precede it. So before close of probation can happen, the Sunday law must come in. And at this point, the great test is going to be implemented. And that great test is keeping the Sabbath, because the Sunday law will come in and say, you can't. You got to work on Saturday. You got to go to church on Sunday. I don't know what they're going to do in Tonga and Samoa, there where the crooked dog's leg is, and there's many crooked dog's legs of the time zones all around the world. It's not just in the South Pacific. And what are they going to do in Norway? Sunset to sunset. Oh, but the sun doesn't actually set for 3 months of the year. Oh, we'll have to go 6 till 6. But Ellen White saw in vision that was wrong. It's sunset to sunset. Oh, what are we going to do? So I tell you what, probation closes, Sunday law's in. Some of you guys are going to have real trouble keeping the Sabbath. She says, who is the mark of the beast? She says it's the papacy. And she predicts, remember she's had several failed predictions already, but God told her that the papacy will join with the government. They will combine to bring about this Sunday law. And then all of a sudden, when that's all happened, Jesus goes, "It is done. It is finished. Probation has closed. But there's still time remaining on the earth. So look out." He then says, "My intercession has ceased." Off he goes back up to heaven. And the righteous and the unrighteous are left on the earth. And the righteous are there on purpose to shine. Ellen White teaches, to shine. And to demonstrate in real time, during the time of trouble, as the four winds, is it, are let loose, the angels have been holding it all back, and they step aside, and the devil, who also doesn't know that probation's closed, he sees there the righteous and the unrighteous, and they join together to tempt the righteous who are shining their light for Jesus, having been chosen for this final test. Here they are shining the light. And I believe that they can still fail. Otherwise, they don't have the freedom of choice, which was the whole thing that Satan said back at the start. He said, "Oh, you guys can't keep the commandments." Now, he never actually did say that in the Bible. This is Ellen White's version of it. He says, "You can't keep the commandments. You're all just drones and robots." So this special people, the righteous, at the end of time of trouble, probation closed, they've got this unique job to vindicate God, prove Satan claim wrong. So it's logical and rational to think that, sure, they may still fail. So here they are for a short time, Ellen White says, at this after close of probation and before Christ's return, they are sitting there having to keep the Sabbath, not sin, keep the commandments, no longer with Christ as an intercessor. Look, it is just so unbiblical. Joy Traveller mentions that her understanding is that they could fail, but they won't. Yeah. And that's definitely the two sides of the speculative coin there. But like you say, they could fail at that time, and that is the point. So there's that is the reason Adventists came into existence, they believe, because they've got this unique message that includes this close of probation teaching. It's so unique and huge. Imagine if it's true, Ellen White's true, and this is what she said came from God, and it's actually going to happen. And wouldn't you gospel, liberal, progressive, revisionist Adventists want to go, "Whoa, this is so amazing, I'd better fall in line with it"? Or you go, "Whoa, that is so crazy, I'm getting out of here"? Like, if it's true, it's just incredible, isn't it? Okay, well, I think that's me done for the day. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks again. There are some incredible comments still coming through, but we have to draw a line in the sand at some point. But look, I really appreciate you joining. And again, I'm observing these three groups: the formers, the full-on believers of Ellen, and those who don't believe these other doctrines, but still want to remain Adventist for whatever reason. I want to hear all of your stories. I've scared off some of the liberal, progressive, revisionist, liberal, gospel Adventists. I've scared off some of the conservative Adventists. Fortunately, I haven't scared away the former Adventists. Thank you. But I do want to hear the voices of everybody, and let's dialogue. Let's reason together. Have a great day, everybody. Please join us tomorrow for our very special session, Good News Fellowship. Until then, live long and prosper.